Some say he's a technical whiz. Some say he was born in Cornwall, while some say that he's on a journey. It's The Journey. And here's your host, David Hackett.
You're in a lie, you're in a lie, you're in a lie, lie, you're in a lie, you're in a lie, you're in a lie, it's love. You're in a lie, 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 you're in a lie.
Joining me today on The Journey is iconic pop idols of mine from the early 90s, and I'm 37, so I grew up with these two, with my mum playing them full blast. It's true. Welcome, White Said Fred. Now let them introduce Uzu, because they are literally together.
We are.
I'm Fred.
That's Fred, and I'm Richard.
You two. Thank you for joining me today on The Journey.
It's a pleasure.
Now, I've been following you, as I just said, since 99. Well, I'm 37 now. Right. I grew up I was pretty much 7, 8 years old when I knew your songs like Deeply, Dippy and...
Right. I'm Too Sexy, yeah.
I'm Too Sexy, for another example.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind your name for band White Said Fred?
The name comes from a song recorded by Bernard Cribbins in 1963, I think it was, and the song was called White Said Fred, yeah.
Yes, and that a friend of ours just heard it on the radio, and we were looking for a name. So she banged on the door and said, Fred's nickname is Fred, obviously. Yeah. So she said, why don't you use the name White Said Fred? So we did.
Yep.
And it stuck. I think probably if the band hadn't broken under that name, we would have chosen another name.
Yeah. And was there any names in mind that you would have wanted to say?
Well, no, not really. No, I mean, there are other names of bands that I really like Sparks and... Roxy Music is another good name. So there are one or two others, but I think White Said Fred's a cool name. Yeah.
So what was your biggest influences for individually as well as you two together as music?
I suppose for the influences in terms of people we listen to when we're writing and stuff, it changes all the time. But when we started off, it was a lot of the glam movement from the 70s. Yeah. So it was T-Rex, early David Bowie, Sweet, some electronica, and some of the stuff coming out of New York, bands like Television, Talking Heads, those sort of things. Yeah. So it's a mix, really. And also, I mean, I'm a big Bob Dylan fan, so I used to listen to a lot of Dylan.
It's different for me, because as a singer, I listen to all sorts of... I suppose I spent most of my time listening to Sinatra and Dean Martin when I was a kid, because those were the only records that Mum and Dad had in the.
Mum was a big fan.
Mum was a big fan, so it's either that or Deep Purple in rock. It's one of the two.
Now, talking about Deeply Dippy, what was the inspiration behind the title? Because that is just a song that I knew when my mum was going out. She had White Said Fred on, she had Erasure on, that's all. Right. Well, so what was the inspiration behind?
It was actually taken from a...
excuse me, 2 minutes.
It was actually taken from a Jeeves and Wooster TV show. And one character said to the other that they were deeply dippy about... the woman was deeply dippy about him, one of them. And Rob, who we were working with at the time, he mentioned it, and we just put it aside as a possible title. I think we probably lived with it for a while before we went through all our notes and decided that it would be a good title for the song. I don't think it hit us immediately. We tended just to store all these ideas up and then revisit them later on down the line.
Yeah, because like I said, that I knew obviously Friday or Saturday night my mum's going out. She had that sort of music on, so that's how I grew up doing that sort of song. And then I'm Too Sexy for my, those are two iconic songs that are stuck in my mind just listening to when my mum's getting ready.
Yeah, we just with both of those songs, we weren't very we weren't very self-conscious when we wrote them. We just wrote them in a very automatic kind of we consciously didn't pay any attention to other artists, and we try not to do that too much. We pay attention to other production.
Yeah, we listen to production a lot.
Yeah, but we don't. I think John Lennon once said it's a bad idea to listen to other artists too much. Otherwise, you end up subconsciously copying them.
Yeah,
So it's a good idea to try and shut that off and just do what you do and follow your own bliss, as they say.
Yeah. I learned that with radio because when I was in the radio industry, I was told, don't copy another radio presenter. You are your own unique person.
That's the idea.
Yes, that's the idea. You have to. In the world we live in, it's not wildly popular to be an individual. You have to be part of a tribe of one kind or another.
Yes.
Yeah.
But individualism is what makes great art. So I think individualism, if only from an artist's point of view, is something that needs to be defended.
So you grew up, both of you. Did you expect to be singers? Did you expect to be anything else? Or was there anything that made you become singers?
When we
just check I'm just going to check my cooking.
When we started playing, I started playing when I was about 12 or 13. Richard started playing bass when he was about 13, 14. Initially, it was just a hobby. And then we really sort of started getting into the writing and everything. So our first tour was 1978. And we were on the road with the first UK tour. We were on the road with Suicide. Yeah. Suicide were an electronica duo from New York, very analog, very tough.
You can tell by the name it wasn't happy music.
No, it wasn't. No, and we did their tour, and on that tour we also We also played with bands like Joy Division and the Addicts and some other bands I can't remember.
Yeah.
So we kind of got into it. Once we'd started doing shows, we had decided this is going to be our living one way or another. And we're still a bit like that. We are very stubborn. And once we have an idea, it's difficult for us to be persuaded not to have that idea.
Unless unless it rings. If somebody says an idea is rubbish and we think it's great, we don't care.
No.
If somebody says it's rubbish and it kind of rings a bell in our head that maybe we think it's rubbish
they might have a point.
But they might have a point, then we do listen.
Yeah.
But the thing with Sexy was that every record company turned it down. So we got used to the idea very early on that listening to other people's opinions is not necessarily a good guide to live your life.
Yeah.
If we'd listened to labels back then, we would never have pursued I'm Too Sexy at all.
Yeah. And the song is, I suppose, why records didn't buy was because of the title, and people were just scared because of the perception how it could be deemed.
Yeah, well, I mean, back in the day, I suppose, when Sexy was released, society wasn't quite so trigger happy as it is these days. I mean, there are all sorts of trigger, whether it's black or gay or disabled or whatever, there are trigger words, and back when Sexy came out, there was none of that really.
It was a bit freer.
It was much freer from that point of view. And I can remember we did a Radio 1 road show, and there was this, we'd just come off stage and we were about to leave. And a guy came striding across the grass towards the car, dragging his 9-year-old son with him. And I just assumed we were going to get into a right ruck because he was going to be cross that his son had to listen to a song about sex. But actually, he was really, really happy about it and congratulated us because the song was about sex, but not sexual.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. It's kind of like, Prince's Cream was about sex. Ours is a kind of picture postcard version, a seaside postcard version. It's comic, it's lighthearted, it's not threatening, and it's slightly self-effacing. So we learned very early on. But I have to say, if you listen to a lot of blues stuff, a lot of early sort of Appalachian now that the woke brigade could go after and tear down if they wanted to, because a lot of those roots and strife that exists between them. So it's not I think art has to be completely free. It has to be completely free to say anything it wants.
And that's what I thought with singing was. When you sing, you are expressing words. You're actually expressing yourself in the words to say, listen, and it's not a say, do this, do that. I know some songs could, like, don't talk, don't kiss. That is an example. You don't talk when you kiss, but you're not implying sexual innuendo, which people can be deeming as wrong. And
no, exactly.
And the videos, fair enough. The videos, it's enough thing when people see the original videos, but that is how your style is, and that's how it is. For me, watching this, when I first saw the video of it on top of Pops, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought that's your style. That's what I'm used to, and I grew up with that.
Yeah, we're quite conscious of not preaching, and the new single "You're in a Light of Love" is an awakening kind of song to try and make people understand that they have the ability within them for change. Yeah. They don't have to seek permission for change. It's actually inside them. That's all that is. So we try not, but we try not to wag the finger at people. We try not to tell them what to do. And great, I think. Blowing in the Wind is a really good observational song, and it's not a preachy song. It's just there's something in it, a bit like What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. It's the same kind of thing. They're observational songs.
Yeah, and that's what makes a good song, is an observational song. The times I've heard not just your songs, but some songs I forgot of, and I'm trying to even remember, but I can't. But observational songs are the key element to what makes a good song.
Yeah, exactly. It's also different things like different people's candle, if you like. So you can have I had a friend once who thought the Beatles were rubbish. What can you do? He was a huge Stones fan, thought the Beatles were absolutely rubbish. So it's a completely subjective thing.
It's like some people. It's like people could say Ozzy Osbourne is the sort of music you could turn off to because all he does is shout.
Well, I like Ozzy Osbourne personally. Yeah, I
think he's a really good.
He's got a good pop head.
He had great delivery.
Yeah,
Ozzy Osbourne.
What I liked about him was he working within. That's why I like Phil Lynott. Working within a rock, quite a heavy rock idiom, if you like. He didn't get into the screaming vocal thing.
Yeah,
which I like that. I like the fact that they didn't automatically assume that you needed to scream like a banshee just because you're in a rock band. So going back to Ozzy Osbourne, I like him, but it's what makes some people like a song is completely unpredictable. You can't. One guy came to one of our shows a few years ago and thought that "You're My Mate" was the worst song he'd ever heard, and there are about 16,000 to 20,000 other people who disagreed. So it's just a personal thing. It's a personal thing.
So I got the brief here from your agents. It says Your Inner Light is Love is about a song about light versus darkness, a song of unity. It's a feel-good factor, optimistic song about the ability of everyone of us to shine a light and give.
Yes.
Is this in light, and excuse the pun in that, is this in light of what's going on in the world due to COVID, or was it a pre-COVID song?
No, it's not a pre-COVID song.
No, we wrote it last year, and we had written it. We released a song in I think November called "We're All Criminals." It was quite a cynical song, and we wanted to write something much more positive and much more to do with unity and togetherness, which is what we think actually. What we both feel is that what unites people is much stronger than what divides us. But we focus on what divides us. That's
politicians
do, and the media.
Yeah, politicians and the media have skin in the game, and they are keen to keep people divided. I truly believe that, and so it's the artist's job to fight that, I think, and to remind people that they have, as Fred says, they have more in common than they have that divides them. Yeah. So. Yes, I'm not wildly happy about the kind of guidance that we've all been given in the last 12 months, whether it's the UK government or anybody else. I think it's been deceptive and misleading. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I can say that freely because I'm not part of any radio station, but I can remind listeners and viewers that what we say is your views, and that's your right to say your views, and I give you that right to say.
It's the Piers Morgan
Piers Morgan. Well,
Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan thing. Yes, it is. He should be allowed to say precisely what he wants. He's not. That's not a news program he's on.
No, it's also why you hire him.
And it's why you hire him. It's ridiculous. GMB is just stupid.
Yeah, I'm not a fan one way or the other. I mean, I think you like what he does or you don't. It's irrelevant. But
I love him.
But you hire Piers. You hire Piers Morgan because you want because he's outspoken, and there's no point sacking him because he's been outspoken. That is just really stupid.
Yeah,
he's been outspoken, and this was before I immigrated to America. He was outspoken even before I came to America.
Yes, he was. Yeah. I mean, that's his shtick. I mean, the shock jock thing is part of his gig, isn't it? And I think now, I mean, we got lambasted by him and many others last year when we went to a Free Speech and Liberty Festival, which was tagged as an anti-vax,
anti-COVID,
COVID denier festival, not festival, protest. Sorry, which it wasn't at all. But what's interesting, just quickly, I don't talk about Piers Morgan particularly, but what's interesting about that is that he had a go at us for attending a free speech rally,
and now he's on.
And now he has left because he wasn't allowed to have free speech.
Yeah,
that's quite an interesting little turnaround.
Yeah. And now I know, for example, if he was on the BBC, he would have been gone a lot quicker because.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's really, really sad that nobody or very few people in Parliament, particularly within the Labour Party, are standing up for free speech like they should. They really, really should. It's a disgrace that some of these people, whether it's in the government or in the opposition or in the media or in the press or whatever it is, there are one or two people who in the House and also in the press who are speaking up for free speech. But they're completely drowned out by the obsession with sticking to the narrative. And it's time that ended. Really.
Yeah, I agree, because it's been so long we've been under the cosh of you can't say this because it'd be deemed wrong. You can't say that because it's wrong. Yeah. It just feels like we are constrained in what, the freedom of speech.
Yeah.
There isn't any.
No. I think
it's very dangerous what's happening in the UK, and sadly Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock and Priti Patel and Rishi Sunak. These are very corporate, uncaring people. I think once we understand that these people don't care about us, it makes the whole process a lot easier to understand.
Yeah.
Once you realise actually they just don't care, then you think, oh, that's why they are like they are. I think the world of pain you're in when you're trying to square.
Make sense
when you're trying to square the circle, because they act like this, and you think, well, why would they do that? They do that because they don't care.
Exactly.
And they'll all be in the private sector within the next 5 years, probably.
Yes, exactly.
Taking a pension.
Well, there was a picture today on the internet of a girl who runs a trattoria, a restaurant in Italy, Osteria, I think it is. And she's sitting on the floor with her head in her hands because she's just been forced to close down. And clearly the people that are running that part of Italy or running Italy in general do not care about her.
No, they don't.
They don't.
No.
Otherwise they would do something about it. So, and the only reason people were furloughed was to keep the pitchforks and the torches away from number 10.
It's just hush money.
It's hush money, isn't it? That's all it is.
Yeah.
They don't do it because they care. They're doing it to keep you quiet.
And I think it's very, very sad for a lot of those people when the furlough ends, if it ever ends. They won't have jobs to go back to. That's going to be another can of worms, But
it's very hard to find leaders or politicians who truly care about their people. It's very, very hard, and they're very rare.
Yeah, we got invited into the House of Parliament a few times. We got invited to number 10 and number 11 a few times. We've always declined those invitations, but we did go up to the House of Parliament, went to Strangers Bar and chatted with a few people, and you met a couple of nice people, but overall, when you come out of it, you feel like you want a shower.
There's
not much love in the room.
No.
There's a lot of anger between one set of people and another. It's very gossipy. It's paranoid. It's not a very happy place for the home. What's meant to be the centre of democracy. It's not a particularly free-thinking environment.
There are lots of
So
people.
would you say it's a bitchy environment to be in?
Sorry?
Would you say it's a bitchy area to be in if you were to be standing there?
I would think so. I mean, from the people we talked to, they spent all their time slagging off people we'd just been talking to, you know.
Yes, it is very cliquey.
Yeah.
It is very, very cliquey. The thing is, on the back benches, it seems to me there are some really good people. It's once you climb the greasy pole and you crept down to the front bench on whether it's in the government or the opposition, once you've made those compromises, which are inevitable, once you get into that level, I'm not sure that anything you say can truly be trusted. But there are some great people on the back benches and some really, really good representatives of their local constituents. Whatever you say about Theresa May, she is still a representative of her constituency. She hasn't toddled off like Tony Blair did.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I can't see Johnson hanging around or Matt Hancock. Matt Hancock will go and work surely for the World Economic Forum. He's been
up to his neck in it.
He's been a torchbearer for them since 2016, 2017, and I would think that Johnson will just go off and do after dinner speeches and all the other stuff and go to America and just put as much money in the bank as possible to pay for all his alimony.
Well, there was a time when. Being a leader of a nation or being a front bench minister was the prize itself. That's what you wanted, and it was deemed to be a prize. It is now seen, I think, by some as a conduit to private business.
It's the revolving door, isn't it?
It's the revolving door,
Yeah.
and I think if it should be treasured more. The people who are elected to represent a constituency or to represent an entire nation should be infinitely more conscious of what the people need and how to behave. And not worry quite so much about their legacy and the polls and everything else. They need to think more about the people they represent.
It's like going back to you saying about cliquey and all that. It's like you go into England, or I'll say England mainly, but you go to England, you go to London. London gets more than they do in Cornwall.
Yes.
I come from Cornwall, so I came from a lower end of the scale of where, poverty was low. The town I grew up in was one of the lowest poverty towns going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, me being in America, you may think I've got a glamorous studio, which I haven't. It's just a green screen, but I'm in a low poverty town where I am in America. But I don't hold that against me. Because I came from a low poverty end. So from one low poverty to another, I can see the two elements on the American side as well as the British side. And it's just damning when you, like I said, you're in London, you get everything.
Yeah,
you go further, but you go further down and you end up with nothing.
Well, the trouble, we went to, when we did a radio tour a couple of years ago, we went to places like Sunderland and Wolverhampton and all that sort of, those places. And you could see why this country voted Brexit. You could see why. Because there are huge swathes of the country that had been forgotten. The people in Brussels did they care about Sunderland? Did they care about the closed down markets in Wolverhampton or wherever it was? Darlington, it was a ghost town way before COVID.
Yeah.
So, it surprised me, but it didn't when the Brexit thing happened. And I think what's happening in America, and I saw some footage the other day of Portland, it's really sad. Some of the cities in America right now and California, one of the richest states in America, and probably if it was an independent country, would be, I think, the 5th or 6th wealthiest country in the world. And they have people living in tents on the streets. It's pretty bad.
Well, which part of America are you in?
I'm in Ohio, in a town called East Liverpool.
Oh, right.
Okay. In Ohio?
Yeah.
East Liverpool, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Which is Trindra Stoke-on-Trent.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
So you can see the difference already, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
But you go downtown to East Liverpool, which is only about 10 minutes by car for us, there's only like one or two main shops that you could go in. There's no major. All right, let's go into JC Penney. That closed last year because of COVID. and I know you're not gamers, but there's a game shop over it, which is similar to the UK shop called Game. That saw its shares sink in the last week for unknown reason, but I can see that going out of business. There's a restaurant that was big when I first came here that was open, that closed. So I can see major businesses not wanting to come back because they can't see the viability, and that's what I can see happening in England when COVID is lifted and everyone's open again, because there's no real push to say stay open because you got this going for you.
No. Well, one of the theories in the UK is that the clampdown has been in a way designed, if you want to use that word, to prevent people from exchanging news and information. So all pubs are shut, all gigs are closed, churches are closed. Anywhere where people can gather and maybe cause trouble has been stamped on. And there's a recent
apart
thing
from Parliament.
Apart from Parliament, where they cause enough trouble on their own. I think our basic position is people must have the choice to run their own lives, make their own decisions, and they should be encouraged to do that, not berated for doing it. And that's the trouble. That's where we are right now in the UK. We're being encouraged to shut up and put up and just toe the party line, and I won't have it.
So I'm reading these notes here. It says multi-platinum award-winning artists and songwriters, over 100 million plays on Spotify. You have credits on Taylor Swift, Look What You Made Me Do. You've been in commercials. You've worked with Bob Dylan, Mick Jagger, David Bowie, plaudits from Madonna, Jay-Z and Prince. Does that make you feel like you are achieving what you wanted to achieve when you first came into music? Or do you think it's just, I want to be here, I've made my stamp?
I'd probably feel a bit more fulfilled if Madonna was actually in my bedroom at the moment.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Put your money where your mouth is, darling. Yeah, exactly. But no, it doesn't, to be honest. We just, the thing that gives us the greatest thrill is going into the studio and coming out with something we're really happy with. Or hitting on a melody for a verse, or hitting on a chord pattern that we like, or we got into it from a music point of view. We then became celebrities, and then we've gone back in a way to where we started. As just musicians. That's what we are, and we will probably survive or not as a consequence of that endeavor.
Now, I could easily say, yes, you are my biggest interviews to date, but I just see you as two individual brothers where you are just being yourself.
Yes, we're not. We try not to. We never play. The fame game is something we weren't terribly good at, I don't think. And it caught us by surprise that we suddenly became celebrities. We never expected that to happen. No. And it took us a long time, I think. It took us, several years to get that out of our system and return to base camp one, to return to what we're happiest doing. Now, if a label comes along or a management company comes along and digs what we do right now, I'm absolutely fine with it. I'm not against that, but they have to dig what we do.
Yeah,
they really do. And what we won't do is, sit down and have somebody say to us, if you could do this and if you could do that, and why don't you do this and why don't you do that and dress like this and we won't do that. That's
what most of them do.
And we won't do that.
Their approach is, you should be more famous. And if you do this, and we'll make you famous,
or work with that person.
Yeah, that's kind of the information we get from most record labels and management, and we just say no, we're not interested, because that's just a world of pain for us.
It makes us unhappy,
and we won't do it, and we aren't particularly money driven, so we just shrug our shoulders and say no thanks.
Yeah. And also the people we like. I was watching an interview with Leonard Cohen the other day, and he was just solid. He was a gracious, classy, intelligent, civilized man. And that's the kind of that's more inspirational to me as something that I remember, the way he comes across, than the glib nonsense that comes out of some of the more famous people that we could all name.
So we've gone from the past to the present, now to the future. Where would you want to be seeing yourself in 5 years' time?
Alive would be good.
Alive would be nice.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just doing what we do, out maybe doing some shows if that's at all possible.
Yeah.
There's a couple of film projects that we're heavily involved in. We'd like to see those come to fruition. That's about it, really. We're not particularly greedy or ambitious in terms of the celebrity and fame thing.
And the band thing,
Yeah, we like peace. We're both quite. We both have short tempers, and we kind of get very irritable with people if we think they're there for the wrong reason. And a lot of it's our fault, because before we've been too tolerant. And now we have some golden rules that we like lines in the sand we follow. And if we do anything that challenges those, 9 times out of 10 it's a mistake. Yeah. So for us, the new single "You're Gonna Like Is Love" is had great reviews and is being received really well. So for us, that's a win. That for us as a band is a win, and we're happy with that. And then now we're looking at the next EP for the summer, and maybe we're looking at some shows later in the year, or certainly for next year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that's kind of where we are.
I'd like to have the money to take an 8-piece band on the road. Percussionist, a little brass section.
Very expensive.
Yeah, I mean that's my. We did it in Cambridge. We had a large live band in Cambridge a couple of years ago, and it was just really good fun. It sounded great. A couple of girls back singing, the sax player and blah blah blah, and it was just really good fun. And a whole bunch of people on stage banging away. It was good fun.
So it's all natural. It was you being you, and that's what made it unique and special.
We just have to, just everybody, if you're an artist of any kind, whether you're a painter or an architect or whatever, you just have to try and hang on to who you are.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists give that up very quickly.
Yeah. Try not to play the game. Just follow your own star and see where it takes you. Absolutely.
I think that's what happens in reality music shows as well. You're manufactured.
Yeah, I mean, people watch, those shows, and they ring in to vote for an artist, and they actually think Simon Cowell is going to look at their vote and go, "Oh, okay, let's consider that opinion."
Because I like that guy, but that doesn't matter because you voted for the.
Yeah, I mean, we all, these things are choreographed and they're orchestrated. It's a money-making project. It has very little to do with music and entertainment. But sadly, a lot of people don't want to believe that, and they're hooked on it. That's their business.
Yeah, we tend to go for people like I don't know.
We like people that don't fit in.
That don't fit in.
Yeah,
Oddballs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll be definitely in there then, because I'm definitely oddball. But anything you would want to say that you would want my viewers, watchers, listeners to hear, apart from promoting the EP?
Yeah, just I mean, I think what we'd like is people to look beyond "I'm Too Sexy, Deeply Dippy" and "You're My Mate," and because in fact I was watching a documentary about Lynyrd Skynyrd, and every band gets this. They were talking to the band, and they said it'd be really nice if people saw us apart from Freebird and Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah. And those 2 songs are absolutely fantastic. But obviously, that band had a lot more to offer than just those 2 songs. And most bands do have more to offer than just their singles. Yeah. But that's how you get tagged. That's how how you first are. How your first scene tends to stay with you for your career. And we're very proud of how our early stuff, "Sexy, Deeply Dippy," "Don't Just Kiss," I think they're stand-up pop songs, so I don't have any problem with that at all. But it's nice when we talk to people or we meet people and they say, "Oh, that song from that album or that gig you did," that's that for an artist. That's nice. Yeah, you hear that someone's actually gone to the trouble of listening to something else. That's a good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I thank you both for being part of the journey.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for being part of the journey.
It's a pleasure.
Want to be part of the journey? Why not share your journey? Email wisewords1983@outlook.com. Until next time, bye-bye from me. And David, do you want to say bye?
Thanks, Marcus. Bye-bye, everyone.